Hey, peace. Hey. Peace and blessings to you, brother. Peace and blessings to the chat, to everybody in attendance tonight. Glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Before we kick this show off, I have a special guest in the building tonight. Y'all make sure y'all show some love, hand out these flowers, and give a warm welcome to the performer of the night. I will give you the floor to do as you will, sir.
Thank you, bro. I call this piece Dinner Party. Inquisitive people are a precious commodity, trading their ignorance for power. No, wait. Let me cook. Hunger pangs in the brains of the starving look for that fully balanced meal. Prepackaged junk and fast casual lunch. It's unsatisfying. Where's the good stuff? It isn't ready yet. We haven't made it yet. All the recipes of histories at our fingertips available on the internet, and yet we keep having the same things over and over and over again. The dinner bell rings out like shots. It's almost like history repeats itself. The questioners need the answer knowers, and the answer knowers need to value the currency of those who question them. Now say gracious things and really dig in. Chewing on the fat for understanding, or get your just desserts for lacking. Thank you.
Welcome officially to the chat. Let me bring my other partner into the building tonight. For those of the people who aren't familiar with who you are, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people and let them know how they can reach out to you.
Talking to me. My name is Patrick. I go by Calistoga Kid. I started writing poetry a while ago, probably about the kickoff of like the pandemic. Really kicked my brain into gear on recognizing that there was a lack of empathy and a surplus of apathy happening all over the place, and it really started to hurt my feelings. And I got those feelings out by starting to write poetry. And I've really been having a lot of fun with that. And I've been moving a little more in a serious direction with it. I'd say just in this last, 2 months, 3 months. Like I got on the Threads thing a little bit ago, and I was having fun with it. I was doing a little bit of trolling, pretending to be like the Keebler elf and being like, make sure you bring the cookies, But like something was bugging me about just having fun all the time and not actually trying to do something. So I'm kind of moving in a direction where I want to leave my weird mark on the world, and maybe poetry is the way that I do it. You can find me on Threads as Calistoga Kids.
Well, first and foremost, welcome to the live stream. Salute.
My name is Jason Matthews.
On that, glad you could make it up.
Sorry, man. Let me know. Let me know when you're ready for me to go on.
No. You're fine. I was just saying, I appreciate him for pulling up, for sharing his story, for just opening the show the way that you did. A lot of people would have a lot of nerves, it's not easy to do this. It might seem like it is for a lot of people, but I remember the first time that I did it.
I got nerves all the time. I'm always.
Nah, you made it look easy. It was pretty dope, bro.
I find that when the creative flow just
Mr.
happens,
Matthews, you have the floor now. I apologize.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, as when the creative flow just happens, I find that the nerves just kind of go away, even momentarily, and the flow just takes over. And yeah, that was good. I really enjoyed that. You didn't see it, but in the background, I was doing this afterwards. So
Oh yeah, I like that. Thank you. The
so yeah,
snaps are
give
my love
props.
language, y'all.
That was good. That was good.
Uh, I had found deep entropy on Threads probably like 2 weeks ago, and I've been watching y'all for a second. I haven't watched your whole catalog, but I've caught probably the last couple as I'm trying to listen to at work. Y'all have some fun discussions going on. I'll try not to kick
Thanks.
my computer some more.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed the conversations that
Well,
Deep Entropy and I have.
likewise, and I'm glad you were able to make it out tonight. We have one that I especially wanted to talk about. Um, I would love to hear everyone's take on this. Kind of dawned on me a few days ago, just observing different types of conversations that we have with people on social media in real life, seeing how people kind of get triggered easily, how misinterpreting someone's language or their tone of pitch and their delivery can kind of take things into a direction that it never needed to go into. So I
Yeah,
kind of wanted to go to this place to where how can we have how can we have these conversations or these engagements with people when we disagree with them without it turning completely left and getting out of control, right? Because
yeah,
I understand this this is what I want to do. I understand that some of us grew up different. Some of us are more emotionally charged than others, and so certain things can kind of make us go off easier than others. Some people have more patience than other people, but the fact remains is that when it's all said and done, we still have to have control over ourselves. We can't
yeah,
control how other people are going to feel or how they're going to talk to us or treat us, but we still have control over how we react to it. So I kind of just wanted to speak on that. Um, we talked about doing this where everyone is able to focus on the subject at hand, and I thought it was an awesome idea. Shout out to Mr. Matthews, um, where we each get 2 to 3 minutes to kind of touch on our initial thoughts on the matter, and then we go into a rotation so everybody has the opportunity to express themselves, and then we just kind of expand upon the topic. So if you want to start off, since you're the new guy in the building, um,
sure.
the floor is
FNG.
definitely yours.
So that's a really good topic. Really, I really like that topic. So something that I always have to keep in the back of my own head because I do identify as a passionate online person. Like you're not going to say something and I'm going to let it slide. Like you're not gonna go around saying some stuff that's like obviously not true and I'm going to let it slide. So a lot of times when you're trying to have like civil discussions, you got to keep in mind that the way that I'm reading it is my emotions, right? Like whatever state of mind I'm in at the time that I'm reading somebody's what I might call BS or their opinion, I'm going to look at it in my own frame of mind. And I really need to step away from that sometimes because maybe they're not attacking me. Maybe they're not being abrasive just to be abrasive. Maybe somebody literally is seeking some kind of knowledge that you could provide. I don't know. It's kind of a funky situation when you get out there online and you're interacting with people, not even knowing what kind of frame of mind they're in, everybody's everybody's going through something that you don't know nothing about, but you're going to come in there interpreting their tone that you can't even put yourself in their shoes, you know? You have no idea what frame of mind they were in when they were writing. Sometimes it's obvious. Like I can't let everything go, but sometimes you just really need to take a step back and say, "Hey, where is this person looking at this situation from?" I don't know. I like that. I like that. It's a great thought experiment in how should we talk to each other online, because there's no facial cues. There, I mean, you can use emojis, and some people use emojis amazingly, super good. But other people, like my son, will throw a leaf after everything. I don't know what that means. Like, what kind of frame of mind is that? He's just throwing a leaf at me after I show him the coolest skate trick. And he's like, leaf? Is it? I don't know. Yeah, I think just looking into it too far could really be a lot of our own undoing in trying to connect with people. Yeah.
Okay, I could say so. I'll say this. Um, I've I've posted poems that got under the skin of feminists. I've posted poems that got under the skin of folks who just didn't understand what I was saying, because the way that I word and I piece my stuff together, it's baffling to folks because they just don't understand it, and because they don't get it, they take it in its entirely different way. Or I'm in a conversation with someone that I've known for a long period of time, and they see you as one way, and because they've compartmentalized you in this certain area, they expect you to be a certain way when you talk to them until you don't go in the direction that they want you to go in. Now, you can be speaking from a peaceful place, a loving place. Your message could be, I care about you, I want to see you do better. So I have to scold you in a warm and loving way, a verbal chastisement, so to speak. But to them, because it's you, or the perception is kind of blurred, it comes off as if you're attacking the person. And so what happens is, because they feel offended, they return the energy in an entirely different way that it never needs to go in the first place. And I think a lot of this stuff stems from people just remaining in this box. I keep going back to the box, where folks only see things from one light, and you refuse to explore the possibilities that there could be other answers and other directions that you can go in, but instead you're so comfortable within yourself and what you know, that nothing else matters to you. So you're easily offended and affected by the things that other people do.
So one thing I want to one thing that I've come to understand about confusion is the I always look at the base result of things, the base principles. What are the things that are driving this forward? What are the base things that are being drawn on that make this happen? And from what I understand, confusion comes from fear. And the way that we express that fear is going to be situationally based. So if you're having a conversation with someone and they say something that you may not like, the fear is, are they saying this as a way of judging me, or are they saying this from their own experience? And so then with that question, there's no easy way to ask that question without the fear of offending someone. So instead of trying to find out what came from that, a person then decides to react. And oftentimes they react badly. And that reaction creates a cascade of things that was never intended. But because there is no foundation on the fact that if I'm talking with Patrick, I have no idea whether I can trust him. I have no idea. When I say trust, I mean I have no idea whether he's going to accept me for exactly who I am and the experiences that I've had, and just be able to see me as me and move from there. I have no way of knowing that unless I establish a relationship. But in order for me to do that, I have to be willing to be vulnerable. I have to be willing to open up and actually share with myself, and be willing to understand where Patrick is coming from as well. And without doing that, there's no basis for me to understand whether he is trustworthy or not, whether he's someone that I can believe that he's going to have my best interest in mind, or whether he's going to be out to get me. I have no idea. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to necessarily say, "Oh, he said this about he said something about this." I don't have to get the kind of reaction where I believe he's attacking. I can, but I don't have to. And herein lies the second part of what causes confusion. There's the idea of fear, yes, but then there's a second part, which is considered the locus of control. What is guiding you, or what is driving your life? And you're either going to have an external locus of control or an internal locus of control. With an external locus of control, the circumstances around you, the way that people talk, the way that people react to you or interact with you, are going to drive your emotional response. They're going to create the determination of why you respond or react or in certain ways. And it's a very chaotic and very uh yeah, chaotic is the best word I can think of right now, of living life, because you are personally out of control of your own life. The situations around you are what driving your behavior, and that creates basically a very at the mercy of others kind of mentality. And talk about being fear driven. Nothing will create more fear than believing that you are out of control of your own life. So an internal locus of control is the exact opposite. It's understanding that you have the ability to control certain things. And these things are the way that you react, the way that you respond, what you believe, what you think, what you decide, and how you act. It's a very limited amount of things that you can control. But by understanding that you have control over those things, that the only person that can control those things is you, you have a much better ability to decide. Patrick said something that was rather bold. And I can choose whether I'm going to respond to that in a way where I feel the need to defend myself against that. Because let's face it, most likely, if he's posting about something, he's not thinking about me. He's thinking about himself. He's thinking about what his experiences are. And for me to turn around and say that his experiences are attacking me, first of all, it's a little self-centered. And second of all, it's very unproductive. It doesn't allow any kind of discussion, and it doesn't allow for you to be in control of yourself. You're basically saying that what Patrick is saying is going to define my behavior. And if that's the case, then there's no way that anybody can possibly have any kind of orderly way about them. And an orderly way is going to create the best way forward. It's going to create the most likelihood of a successful and fruitful and fulfilling life. I know I've gone way over 2 minutes, but I just wanted to, that's a lot to be said.
It's pretty insightful.
I think self control is a very, very important. Self discipline, and I say that because self discipline can either put you in a position where distraction isn't a key element in why you are lackadaisical. Self discipline can keep you from choosing the wrong partners. Self discipline can keep you out of jail. It can keep you from frivolous arguments. It can protect your self. How can I say this? Let's say someone is known and notorious for being a proverbial shit starter. All they know how to do is gossip and instigate. All they know how to do is antagonize. And because you are aware of the type of person that you are dealing with, you still find yourself succumbing to their their idiocy. Like, they start stuff. You know that they're going to push buttons. You already understand that, but you still fall into the snare. And by the time it's over with, now your spirit, your mind, your everything is altered completely because you allowed their energy and their stuff to affect you, and now you take a part of them with you, if that makes sense. That's why I say that self discipline is very important, because knowing yourself and knowing how to trust the process of saying I can be a bigger person. I don't have to feed into a person's word salad and them trying to start stuff for whatever reason. I can just navigate through it and go on about my day with a smile and not really worry about it or let it affect me. I think self discipline is very important. Um, we got a guest in the building. Salutes to my brother, Mr. Hanley himself. I appreciate you for pulling up, brother. Since everybody had a chance to go in a circle, let me just recap real quick. My brother up at the top right corner, he opened up with a spoken word, a very powerful one. Shout outs to him. And then Mr. Matthews is another brother of mine's, man, who has been nothing but just awesome, man. Definitely check him out if you get time to. Very deep, very deep. Uh, I'm gonna give you the floor, bro, so you can introduce yourself and just a quick recap. We're just talking about how to diffuse the confusion that we get into on a daily basis with folks who don't know how to manage their emotions and their feelings and things of that nature. I give it to you. I give it to you. You got the floor, bro.
Is the it's going to Callista. Wait, how do you say your name, my friend?
It's Calistoga Kid.
Alistoga Kid. Blessings, blessings. I'm sorry that I missed the spoken word. Do I have the floor, or does my friend up top have the floor?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
floor
yeah,
is
yeah.
yours, Ricardo.
Oh,
Nah, you
uh,
got the floor, bro.
well, blessings to all of you guys. I appreciate just having the opportunity to come on. I've seen a lot of the content, and you guys have been talking about a lot of things that need to be spoken about. And the transparency that I'm seeing in this podcast in particular touched me, and I wanted to be a part of it. As far as diffusing, you know, stupidity uh, and just things in general, I believe that there's just a certain attack on males happening. I don't know if it's worldwide, but I know it's nationwide. And it just seems that a man doesn't have room to be a man sometimes. For instance, you know, uh, these terms that have developed, like toxic masculinity. When I hear things like that, it kind of drives.
I believe he got a call. He got a call. I see where he was headed with that. Um, so let me ask this question real quick until he gets back. Do you think that the reason why folks are so easily offended and lack this self-control, do you think that it comes from just upbringing, or is it just the inability to want to acknowledge the fact that they need to work on themselves a little bit more? Because what I find is a lot of folks that are in jail, they either allowed someone to influence them, or they allowed something to influence them. How do you feel about that? What do you think it stems from? Why is it so hard to walk away versus actually entertain something that you know is going to cause you some type of internal agony?
Personally, I think I mean, it's definitely a combination. There is a nature versus nurture aspect to it, but the nurture of it is nobody's really taught how to regulate their emotions. We fall into depression, and one of the first things we want to do is get a pill to fix it instead of figuring out what's causing it and questioning ourselves on what's actually bugging us and what's really going on and within our own lives. Like introspection is something that I think is taken for granted. We have the ability to like observe, but rarely do we observe ourselves for what we really are. Like we could all go around just placating each other and being nice, but like at the end of the day, there's a lot of nasty people out there that just want to be nasty. There's a lot of people out there that don't know any better on how to approach situations just because they weren't shown. There's a lot of lack of role models out there. We have a culture that pushes the wrong kinds of values in our kids' faces. Like gun culture is alive and well. Uh, Sex is everywhere because it sells. You got kids trying to escape their suburban hells, like taking shit like fentanyl. You know, there's a lot of things that I don't think we can just boil it down to one common denominator. But there's a lot of things that we just haven't taught our kids how to do. like one of the biggest things is just being able to look at when you mess up and take accountability. And accountability is a funny word. Like recently, my wife was asking me, do you realize that accountability goes both ways? It's not just the bad, it's the good too. You can be held accountable for the good stuff you've done. You know, we don't use that word. We always use it in a negative connotation. We use a lot of things in a negative connotation. I don't know. I think a lot of it is nurture, but there's a lot of nature in it too, because war is as old as, you know, it's written in stone, you know. They got wars for days and it's always over the same things. I don't know. I don't know if there's any way to like really tackle it and be like, here's the problem, here's the solution, because I think it's just broken down and scattered into so many different places. You know, we don't have people breaking generational traumas within families. You know, we keep perpetuating the stuff, you know, and when our kids see the things that we model, it's up to them to break the bad things that we've modeled, and everything that they model that is, you know, kind of a bad idea, their kids got to try and model something. I don't know, man. That's a really hard one. And it feels like people just come online frustrated, looking to pick a fight, you know? I don't even know how I could scratch the surface of that, honestly.
So I think the way that I would describe it is there are two. One of my skill sets is I'm a behavior analyst. So I've done a lot to really understand how people behave and what creates certain behaviors and how to modify behaviors. And one thing that I found that is really important is to understand the principle of negative behavior, when not corrected, becomes rewarded. And what that means is if you're acting a fool and no one tells you to stop acting a fool, it's basically you being rewarded for that behavior. And so there's a encouragement to continue that bad behavior. It becomes encouraged because it's not corrected. And I think we've developed into a society that is really understanding that there are certain behaviors that aren't worth correcting because they just are, they're not doing a whole lot of harm, so why bother? But what they don't understand is that negative behavior is negative behavior. And what ends up happening is, well, if I can get away with this, what else can I get away with? And so then the boundary is pushed until the boundary is pushed to a point where the punishment is severe. Either death or imprisonment or some other kind of injury or whatnot can happen because there were no safeguards, no guidelines along the way to help modify a person's behavior to become better than what it was. Another thing that governs this is the principle of people will only take action when there is a reason to do so, even if that reason is false or imagined. And this is really important to understand, something that you talked about, Patrick, that really is important to really shed some serious light on. And this is the fact that without understanding where a person is coming from, there's no way to connect to them. And people are literally dying to be listened to. They want to be understood. They want to be recognized. So when you take these two things together, when you take that negative behavior is not negative behavior that is not corrected is rewarded, and the reasons are what drive people's behavior, what you get is you get people who are acting badly, acting negatively in order to be recognized. They're looking for someone to correct their behavior. They're looking for someone to give a damn. And empathy is the one solution that can help provide this empathy with compassion. Where when someone is acting a fool, saying, hey man, what's going on? And taking the time to understand, taking the time to really want to listen to what is going on with them because you know there's something that is driving that behavior. It didn't come out of nowhere. It's not something they want to do just because they want to do it. Very few people, less than 2% of people in the entire world, are assholes for the sake of being assholes. There is a reason why they act the way they do, and there is an emotional component to their behavior. And as if you take the time to listen to what someone really is wanting to say, um, Bowling for Columbine was a great movie simply because of the fact that in one of the interviews, Marilyn Manson was interviewed in that movie, and I forget the director. He asked Marilyn Manson, "So, what would you have said to those kids before they actually had gone on their mass shooting spree at Columbine?" He said, "Nothing. I would have listened." And that is the thing that is most important for people. They want to be heard. People need to feel like they are understood, respected, and valued. If a person is given that, they're more likely to do things that are pleasing, that get people to like them because people want to be liked, especially if they understand that they are valued.
Yeah, you can spin this a number of ways, man. Objectively looking from a fresh set of eyes, just observing different personalities. If I am looking at someone who is used to being in charge, or they're used to kind of being condescending to people, I watched how they move, and the first thing that comes to my mind when I see someone who acts out like that, this was self-taught. Um, this was developed over time through experiences with other people who didn't have certain boundaries. Because when a person has boundaries and they don't allow you to do certain things, or they don't allow you to infiltrate them in a way that it affects them, they carry on like that throughout the ends of time. They'll be that way until they run into a wall, and that wall is going to speak right back to them with the exact energy that they put out. What I've learned is you can't combat energy that is going to kill you on the inside. You have to do the complete opposite. If you run around angry and bitter and you're taking your frustrations and all this stuff out on other people, what good is it to me if I do the same thing? What good is it to me if I'm hanging around you? What good is it to me if I allow you in my circle as a companion or anything? See, what folks conflate or get this idea that you have to match a person's. You don't. See, once you know yourself, you can look at things a little different. I'm so in tune with myself now that when I see somebody that's patronizing, or I see that they're a liar, or that they're going out of their way to make someone's life hell for no apparent reason, I know how to deal with people like that. And my answer to it is to go my own way. I won't entertain you. I won't have no conversation with you. I'll keep it short. I'll keep it concise and sweet, and then I'll go on about my day. A lot of folks be like, man, we don't see such and such all day. We don't ever hear why we don't. Well, yeah, there's a reason why you don't see me. There's a reason why I don't talk to you, because I know what kind of person you is. I'm not going to be able to change you. Life going to have to do that. God's going to have to do that. I have to protect myself. This is really what this is about, protecting yourself, not feeding into certain things because your flesh and that primal instinct says to jump on it because it's right there. Social media and society says that you need to react to every single thing that you see and hear, but you don't. You don't. There's nothing wrong with walking away or not entertaining certain things. There's nothing wrong with that. I think this idea that you're going to be looked at as weak, or you're going to be looked at in a unflattering way because you chose the latter path, is always going to look like it's um, demonizing to the person that's getting the bulk of the assault. I didn't want to go too far into it, but if you want
If you don't
to,
mind,
bro,
I'd
you
like
can
to
chime in.
I'd like to address some of the comments that I've been seeing in the stream. Things that have been really good questions, and some things that some of the people have said, especially Greg, talking about how he said something earlier that you had actually highlighted, um, about the need to rather keep to himself, or try to understand um, what he's trying to convey. It's more about understanding, right? That one. So it's more about um, the idea that when you understand what you want to experience, and this is really important. This is an important part of helping to negate the confusion that happens in our lives. The first part is really understanding what you want to experience, and then looking for things that help to promote that experience, and ignoring or moving away from the things that distract or that disrupt that experience. And the more you understand what you want to have in your life, the more you focus on that, to the exclusion of just about everything else that you know is a distraction. This is what a good internal locus of control looks like. Setting up your responsibilities of what you're going to do to have the kind of experience you want, because you know how important it is for yourself, for you to live as the person you want the world to see and that you want to be personally. And then having the right boundaries that say, this is going to be a distraction, this is going to be disruptive, I do not want this in my life. And if it's around you, look for other things that you can experience. You are full of agency, meaning that you have the ability to decide what you encounter and what you experience. You have that decision. You have that ability to create that experience. And the more agency that you take on, the more responsibility you have over what you're going to do. I guarantee, my friend, I guarantee, the more fulfilling your life is going to be, because you've taken the you've taken control over what you want to experience. And you've said, this doesn't align with me, I'm out. Or this aligns with me, I'm going to double down. I'm going to go even further into this, because this really aligns with what I want to experience and how I want my life to be. It's really important to understand how you can create the kind of focus or the kind of distraction that you want. How confused do you want your life to be? The more confused you want it to be, just have fewer goals, have fewer control of your own life, have fewer responsibility for the decisions that you make. Allow other people to make those decisions for you. Your life will be pretty chaotic. If you want the opposite of that, take more control over the things that you decide you want to have in your life.
As a poet, I can't do that because I would have
Absolutely.
no inspiration.
Oh, I disagree, my friend. I disagree a lot
I'm
because you can observe things that happen in your life all the time without being affected by it.
no.
You can observe how people act a fool. Like this piece that you spoke on. I have the suspicion that you're a deep thinker and that you actively seek out information in order to better yourself. That's my suspicion of you.
That's accurate. It hasn't
So
always
and
been
yet
that.
and you know what, that's the personal experiences that we have are often the best ones that we can draw from. I'm also the kind of person who didn't always have the kind of insight that I do. This is probably the last 8 years that I've really developed this kind of insight. Before, I was very much someone who had more of a laissez-faire attitude about life. I did not take things seriously, and I suffered for it. And I suffered for it because I had decided that I wanted to have a greater responsibility for what I wanted to encounter, but I wasn't willing to do the work. So it kind of it was a half measure, and it did not serve me at all. And a lot of relationships and a lot of experiences suffered because of it, and I suffered as a result.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you could probably relate. And
Yeah.
you can draw from that, and you can also see the way that other people act without being influenced by it. You observe, but you don't engage. And you can observe and say, well, isn't that interesting? I'm going to make a note of that. This is really inspiring for me to write about this because this is something that I want to have as a message.
I like that. I would say that's pretty accurate too. Like, not everything is a firsthand experience that I'm gonna try and write from the perspective of. There's a lot of things that I will see. Like, one of my favorite things to do is go out with my wife to a noisy bar or a noisy coffee shop and just eavesdrop on people, just to see if there's anything that sticks out that feels like, oh, there's something there. The last time that it was really fruitful, it was kind of cute because we went to a coffee shop and there was a father with his toddler daughter, and he was reading her stories, giving her hot chocolate while he had his coffee, and it was kind of cute because I was able to kind of imagine, the life and the impact that had on her, and kind of draw from that to make a perspective for her. But it's not always so easy sometimes, like sometimes there's definite barriers to perspective. There's things that you could never identify with. Like, I mean, racism's a huge one. You and I could never identify with the same kind of things, the impact that racism would have. Another instance is just the male versus female aspect. The idea that we all have, the same capabilities, but there's still more worth placed on certain individuals, especially, if they're a straight white male. You could almost bet on, who's going to the top if you were to put people on a lineup of different colors, genders, and sexual orientations. You could almost bet on who's going to go to the top. I think that one of the things that really messes with people is seeing that, like, portrayed in movies and on TV and stuff like that, and thinking that should be the norm. I think there's a lot of people that are bitter about change, even if it feels like these are the kind of changes that we should be making for a greater society. I feel like there's a lot of people bitter to try and keep the status quo because they feel like the way things were better or whatnot. But I think there's a lot of things that we all, I don't know, I'm probably rambling now, but we just need to take a good look at, like, what we're shoving down the kids' throats. because that's what they're being molded into, you know? Like, we don't need a bunch of Monopoly guys running around all the time. And if all the kids are seeing is that it's money, cars, and fashion, then that's all they're gonna go after. We got to show them that there's creative outlets too. Like, there's a lot of good to be done just expressing yourself in music and painting and poetry for sure. I don't know. I don't want to ramble too much.
I do want to respond to that, because there were some things that you said I would love to be able to um, add my perspective to. You said something that was um, it was pretty deep, and I think it bears further discussion. The idea that it's correct that I will never know the experience that racism has on someone who is not a white male, or how a woman is going to. I will never know that. What I can do is I can seek to understand how it affects them, and I can seek to create a relationship with them that actually helps to let them be seen as a person rather than as a black woman, black man, a woman, man, whatever it might be. Orientation doesn't matter. Um, One thing that it's funny, because I am an insatiably curious person, sometimes to a fault, and I will ask people questions, and my wife was like, "Why did you ask that question? That was improper." But I got an answer, and actually developed my connection with them. So was it really improper? Or was it just that it was uncomfortable? And I think if we're willing to ask questions that are somewhat uncomfortable, that help us understand where other people come from, we can create empathy with them. We can create a connection with them. We don't have to know everything, how oatmeal digests in their body, or that. We just need to know the fact that they just need to know that there's someone who is willing to connect with them, that is willing to develop a connection, develop trust, develop vulnerability with them, so that they can feel like they are understood, respected, and valued. Nothing else really matters. If you're willing to do that, I find that my interactions with Melvin have been very, very beneficial, and him and I have developed a great friendship because we've taken the time to really understand where we come from. I've really listened to his perspectives, and he's listened to mine, and we've been able to share information as equals. And I think if more people are willing to do that, if we're willing to do that on a deeper level and consistently, then we can create interactions that are very emotionally healing, and that allow us to feel like, wow, I really do matter. I'm really valued, at least by one other person. I wonder who else I can create those kinds of connections with.
You know, you know how I look at conversations with human beings. Maybe this kind of give a deeper understanding. For generations upon generations, man has always wanted to explore the unknown. The two best examples I can give is outer space and the deep sea, because we don't know everything that's out there. We don't know how many creatures live beneath the surface. We've only tapped into bits and pieces of what's down there. There's telescopes that they have spent millions on to explore the planets, to see how far they can look into the darkness, the vast emptiness of the universe. That's how I look at people. That's how I look at dialogue and trying to understand a person, and how far can I tap into my own self to be able to connect with someone. That's how I look at it. Because we are never going to truly understand how far and how deep we can go into the psyche of someone. We haven't even tapped fully into our full mental capacity. So imagine how much more we could if folks were if people remove this invisible veil that suggests that this is everything that I'm ever going to be. This is everything I'm going to know, everything I'm going to see. This is all the information that I'm ever going to have. This is my entire universe. But we know the universe has, or the ocean has been explored to the depths that it can. So how much more in a person? And when you get into these back and forths about race and sexual preference and things of that nature, a lot of folks get so uptight and so offended. I never understood it because we need information. We need to know. We need to understand each other. We can't just walk around each other confused and conflicted. And for the most part, I think people want to fix what they can fix. And if you're so removed or devoid of emotion or conscience to the point to where you just don't care, well, then that's a part of the problem with even trying to deal with people that are uncouth and just they just have it in their mind that they're going to be chaos forever. So I'm with both of you. At the same time, I'm also like me, even knowing that I'm never going to fully understand you or him or anyone in the chat or just people that I've grown up with because our walks are different. I still know enough to know that you're probably about to walk off the cliff, metaphorically speaking. I hope no one takes me literal. Some people actually might unalive themselves. Is statistics show it. But what I'm saying is a lot of people are so persistent in being stuck in who they are already that they don't want no change. And for those type of people, you would be wise not to. You can only do so much. The best thing and the best course for you is to go a different direction. I understand wanting to help people. I want to help people. But there's a difference between trying to help someone and poisoning yourself at the same time.
There's definitely a need for discretion.
TG73 Miss Terry said a toxic relation with people who love each other in an unhealthy way can take a long time to get away from because even with growth, the heart still feels. That's just one example. A toxic relation, and this is my take, y'all can chime in if you want on this. If it's toxic, it was never for you in the first place. You can't be toxic and love the person.
Right. And toxic just being
Something is off balance.
exactly. Something toxic being a descriptor. That's a oh, is work canceled? I do have to work tomorrow, unfortunately. I think something being described as toxic, it can be change, though, right? We can change the descriptor. If something is toxic, then definitely you don't want to consume it, but you can change the levels of how toxic it is. Like, if somebody's willing to change, you should be willing to give them that chance if you really believe in the relationship. And I'm talking more of like I guess it goes for platonic as well, but like a romantic or a platonic relationship. If somebody's willing to change something and actually put in the work for something that is perceived as toxic, then I think it can be salvaged. I don't think you have to call it quits on people. I think that an unconditional love should be unconditional, but I think you should be wary of how much of your resources you're willing to give up. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody's not willing to meet you halfway somewhere, whether it's your best friend or your wife or your boyfriend or whatever you got going on, then they're just not going to do it. If they're not willing to do it, then they're just not going to do it. And you can't change that. They've got to change that. But if they're willing to start putting in the effort, you're seeing something change in them. However small it may be. Some people need to take baby steps. We all can't start just sprinting right out the womb, you know? I think that really plays a big part into like giving a descriptor to a relationship. Like a toxic relationship, sure, it might be toxic then and there, but if they're willing to clean up the toxic sludge, then you might have a healthy ecosystem in your future with it. You know what I mean?
So one thing to understand is the word toxic is way too generalized. There need to be specific understandings of what toxic really means, and there has to be more of a desire to understand toxic how, because there's something called secondary benefit, and secondary benefit basically applies to something that is being gained from the experience that makes it desirable to keep. So in a romantic relationship, if the interaction, let's say, is verbally abusive, and one person is constantly verbally abusing the other, but they stay together, my question is, what is the secondary benefit that they are getting that makes the relationship hard to let go of? Because there's something they are gaining from that is of equal or greater value than the abuse that is happening. So the question is, what is that? Is there a sense of security? Is there belief that, okay, well, there's actually, I do get recognized by this person in a screwed up way, but the identification is real. Does it help soothe the fear of abandonment? Is there's something in that relationship that is being gained, that regardless of what the negative parts of the relationship are, that gain makes it worth staying. So understanding what that is very important. It's also very important to be able to understand where you can get that elsewhere so that you don't need it from that relationship and get the hell out. But aside from that, knowing that there's an understanding necessary that, okay, well, this person is staying. Why? Like, not asking like, why are you staying, but more of, why is the situation happening? It's more of an inquisitive why than an accusatory why. To be able to, like you said, Melvin, we need data. We need more information to know more about our world. And the more information we get, the better we informed we become on our next steps, what we're going to do next. So again, it comes down to wanting to understand what another person is going through and how life is affecting the way they are and what they're doing about it, or what they're not doing about it, and again, why.
And the interesting part about that is when it really just comes down to knowing yourself, really. Because anytime I've ever been in something toxic, it was because deep down inside, I knew it was wrong, or I knew that there was something about it that didn't sit well with me. But I had a taste for it because what I grew up around, or what I was shown, made me fixated on it. It's almost like I love lasagna, but it was introduced to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what it was. And so, like, having two people that's toxic, now you gotta look at it like, all right, it can't be a coincidence. It's easy to look at the other person and say they got things going on with them, but then in reality, it's like, well, what attracted them to you and you to them? Because there has to be some. It's like Batman and Joker, pretty much. Joker like chaos, and he liked the fact that Batman was one of these people who was a renegade, and he wore a mask, and he tried to act high and mighty, protecting Gotham City. So he wanted to play around with him, and Batman kind of had him like he was just another person that he had to get off the street. They balanced each other out, but there's just this oddness. You got something in you that shouldn't be there, but it's there for a reason. And until you recognize and understand what it is and why it's there, and you deal with it, then you're going to continue to deal with that same type of person. Both of you are really going through some things. You might be a little more in tune with yourself than the other person is. Let's just say that you know more of your downfalls and your bad habits than the other person, because some people are more blinded to them, but you still ignoring your stuff. Maybe you even know your red flags, but you still dib and dabble with them because it's exciting. You still get a thrill from it until it's not fun anymore. Once it's not fun anymore, now you woe is me, blah blah blah. So I mean, I don't know. That's just my take on that. But I think ultimately you don't want to be in that position. You don't want to live like that. I don't think anyone wants to live like that. And if you say you do, you lying to yourself. I tell you what, if you still waking up to someone and you make that face like you can't stand them, but you still want to deal with them anyway, maybe
I
you
want
want
to
to
know what that's
reevaluate some
about,
stuff.
y'all. So, me and my wife talk about this all the time. I go to work and I work with some dudes that absolutely hate their wives. Like, why is that not their best friend? Me and my wife are best friends. Like, we have friends outside of each other, but we love doing shit with each other. Like, there's nothing we love more than just sitting there and talking shit about everybody walking by. Like, that might be a little toxic. We might look into that. But still, the fact that I'm not sitting there going, man, my old lady, you know what I mean? I can't wait until I get to work because my old lady is just such a drag. It's kind of wild. My dog does not like my energy right now.
The only thing that I can think of again is secondary benefit. There's something that they're gaining, or the way that they are describing their spouse isn't necessarily correct, but they feel the need to vent about something. There's many reasons why people act that way. I agree. I think it's a little disheartening to see, because they don't really see their partner as being the person, like you said, as being the best friend. My wife and I, we talk about just about everything. We counsel each other. We talk about it. That's a beautiful dog. We talk together. We share experiences together. We love being in each other's company. I think there is something about these people that when they are talking about their spouses negatively, there's something about themselves that they're unwilling to face. And the only way they can distract themselves from that is to find something to complain about someone else, but focus on the shortcomings of another person rather than dealing with the struggles that they're dealing with. It's called projecting. And yeah, it's not a very it's not a very attractive trait at all. But it's again, it's a distraction. It adds to the confusion because there's no clarity about what the issue is, because they are too afraid to deal with what's right in front of them.
I know I said that we probably can't boil
know,
it all down to one issue, but I think what we boiled it all down to is communication is really just lacking between everybody, everywhere. We
Yep.
really just aren't communicating either enough or effectively enough.
Both.
Guys, we just solved it.
yeah, because
Next, world peace.
Yeah.
bingo.
I do have to get
Nah,
going, guys.
that's
But
serious. And I was, yeah.
I was just saying that I do have to get going.
Go ahead.
Patrick, it
You
was
got it.
a pleasure meeting you.
It was a pleasure
This
meeting
is
you too.
this has been great. I'm looking forward to more interactions with you. You're a cool dude.
If you guys will have me back, I'll try to write some better stuff and see if I can't come up with more interesting takes on the topics provided.
Yo, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome, brother.
Guys, thanks for having me as well.
Gotcha. You're more than welcome. To Mikasa Sukasa.
Hey,
All right. If y'all on Threads or on IG, go check this brother out. Go check out Jason Matthews as well. If you need to reach them in any type of way, you can just hit me up, DM me. I'll connect you to both of them, and we can do it that way. That'll make it a lot easier. I thank everybody for pulling up tonight. Shout out! Oh, and let me say this. Ricardo, he sends his regards. He had a family emergency. He had to take the call. He wanted to apologize for the intrusion or the interruption. So outside of that, man, awesome live. You guys enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you back on Thursday.
Have a great one, brother.
Assembly of all right. Assembly of Excellence saying good night. God bless and signing out.